In the chat. All right, so like I said, we're going to talk about the first project on the website now. Just put it up. There is a spec sheet. We'll look at that in a second here. So you can just download this, and it basically kind of it covers what we got to do. So one, everybody always worries, when's it due? It's going to be due October 14th, Thursday. So we've got a little bit over 2-3 weeks here to do this. I'm doing the album covers. One's going to be, of course, your band, and a kind of a new version of that. And then one is a remake of mom, dad, grandparents, whatever, band, musician. Question comes up, does it have to be in English? It doesn't. If somebody wants to, has a foreign language, that's perfectly fine also with that. So don't, definitely not opposed to foreign language if you need to. So what we're going to do, we're include the front and the back of the album, and also the label. And typically up front we have the artwork. Obviously that's what we're doing in Photoshop. We're going to add the title of the album and the artist, and we kind of worked through that last class. Today we're going to go through kind of what's on the back, which is the album with the songs that are on the album. The band members, this is, sometimes you find it, sometimes you don't. So I'm not going to go freaky about it, but know that can go there. And then we have our legal and copyright and UPC also found there on the back. So we're going to go through that. And many times also the record label, meaning the company that makes it on that. And then we have, of course, the label on the album itself. I'm going to give you the mockup file so you guys can work through that. And we'll go through, again, we're going to go through that with class today. And then you're going to save it as a PDF and turn it in on the 14th. We'll go over saving PDFs and combining files to make a PDF as we go along between now and then. PDFs are important at this point. Everybody's using them, and you're going to definitely encounter them, whether it be at the very least sending projects to people to take a look at, or to if you're making up a form or you're doing things for a client. PDFs are kind of like the way to go. And then we're going to have you guys email them to me at this email address, because there's no spam on that kind of thing. So if the files are larger, I don't want the files to be too large. Sometimes the school email addresses get a little weird when you do attachments. So this way we won't have that problem of getting like weird attachments not working or anything like that. So I know this email definitely works without too much issue. All right, so that's where we'll go. So this is the sheet. This is available on the website. Okay, and then down here is the mockup file, and it's going to download to your computer with a click, and then we'll open that up here in a second. So here it's coming in, and there it is opening up, and we've got the layers on there that we can work with. Okay, and again, we're going to use this again today to build up the back of the album. Okay, so that file is there for your use. Okay, so that will be on the website. So any questions about that? We've got the date, we've got kind of a basic spec sheet. If there's additional questions, please let me know. And then we also have the mockup file that we have here. Does that make sense, everybody? Makes perfect sense there. Awesome. I understand totally. Okay, good. Thank you. All right, so the 14th, so we're here 1, 2, 3 weeks. Dude, no problem. All right. All right, so let's get into designing the back of the album cover today, and we're gonna go from there. So let me just kind of get a picture going. The other day we were doing the album for Ed. I believe it was the Yosemite one. So let me just see what I got on my desktop that I can work with. I thought I had Yosemite files here. I did. Yosemite. Yeah, so this is the valley view. Let me see what else I got going on here. The falls. It's El Capitan. I'm just looking for something that feels good for today. We did that view the other day. Yeah, let's see. Maybe I have half dome. Let's see. I think I have that down here. I remember my days we were going. Here we go. So this is half dome. This is a little bit further down in the valley. So let's see which one I want to use for this shot. I always take, I always say I take too many pictures, but you can never have too many pictures, I don't think. Because you just never know what you're going to need them for. You know, and then the angles and, you know, it's real hard to, if you shot this, that's cool, but if maybe you want a little bit closer, so here we have a little closer. But if I had to, only took the closer, I wouldn't have the wider angle if I needed all of that. So I actually take extra pictures as you go. So I'm going to open up the raw file again, just to review working with raw as we go. Yeah, so this is the original, and we were starting to get into some sunsets. So this is the light on there. So it was actually coming up fairly orange. So I'm going to just kind of see how orange I want that to go. I'm just kind of, because real life it was probably more like this. It was pretty intense, but I might cool it off a little bit here. And I'm liking this because in my mind I'm thinking, okay, we're going to have this square area that I can work with. So I'll have a nice sky up top there. And again, maybe we'll replace that sky again today. We'll do that. We'll put the exposure down because I can pull up the blacks and the shadows. Yeah, we can out of that. Sharpen it, a little bit more vibrant. It was pretty intense, not that intense. My God, that's too much. That's like, whoa. But that's the sunlight. I mean, you can see this is all one surface. Just how the sun came through the valley made that kind of blind. It's kind of weird. I mean, I was like, whoa, wait a second. And then it looks kind of weird sometimes on the screen. I don't want to actually, probably don't want to saturate much at all. All right, so we're going to open this. And again, we're going to open this as a smart object. Remember, if we do that, we can then come back to this photo if we need to make additional changes. And we're going to be coming back into the raw file, which will allow us to customize it. We just open, we're kind of, it's coming in as a normal layer at this point, but as a smart object, I can do a lot with it. And if I need to make it a non-smart object for something that I'm working with or doing, I can do that at that point. Now I can see here, let me just double check it's true. Yep. I get my spots. I'm always looking for these two little spots up here. I don't know if it's my screen's dirty or not. Sometimes I have a dirty monitor. Let me clean you guys off a little bit. So I'm always looking for this because I know my camera does this. So in this case, I'm going to want to, I'm going to have to convert this because when I go to, I don't think my healing brush is going to work on it. Let me see. I push my healing brush and I move over and I get the no sign, right? The no sign because it is a smart object. So in order to fix it, and I'm going to fix this now because I'm not sure of the sizing. We're going to just do that. I am just going to duplicate this. I'll keep it as there if I need to. And then I'm going to rasterize the layer. Okay, so here I'm going to layer smart object. And I'm not going to do a copy because I already just copied it. but I don't need to stay as a copy at this point. I just need to rasterize it. So rasterizing means I'm going to break it down into pixels, which will allow me to do the healing brushes and such, where I could not do that as a smart object. So I'm here, I got my healing brush, spot healing, give me a little bit bigger brush. And I'm just going to clean up these things real quick. Ultimately, I don't want those in there. They may go away as we do a sky replacement. In fact, they probably should, but who knows? Maybe I won't do a sky replacement. It's hard to say right now. We're early in our design. All right, so we have this here. Now remember, the record albums are 12 by 12. And this image that I opened is 16 by 10 at 300 DPI. So I know I want it to be not as wide, but I also know I need to be a little bit taller, right? We're almost 11 inches, so I need to add an inch. And I want to keep the 300 DPI. So I'm just going to kind of say, okay, there. I'm going to come to my canvas size. And here's where I'm going to make it 12 by 12. And it's going to give me this, you're clipping it. No, I'm not really clipping. What I'm doing is I've made that image smaller. So if I do a Command T on this file, you can see the picture's still big. It's just being cut off, which is fine. All right, so I'm just going to enlarge because I know I need to cover this bottom area is what I want to do. And then I have the mountain itself here. And I'm just going to position it. I think we're pretty good there. I'm just kind of sliding around to see. I like that a little bit better. This might work a little better here. Just looking at if I cut off that tree, does that still work for me? And it does. So I'm going to move that off center. And again, remember we talked about last week or last class about adding in guides if I need to. I can just click on the rulers and move over 6 inch. I got a center guide. And if I need a mid guide up and down, I can do that. And again, these are just there. They do not print. If I want to get rid of them, I can do Command colon, or I can go up to view and show, and we'll see the guides here. So I can put the guides in. There are all other things in here to show. Let me just show you that. There is a grid, which are these spots, right? These little squares. It's a grid, literally. Again, this does not print also, but it again helps you kind of lay things out and understand and position things. So you may or may not want that. I don't typically use it at this point. So I just kind of have it turned off, and that's called the grid. And then we have the panels here. And let me see if they added, they were talking about doing rule of thirds. I don't see that they did that. That's okay. So the rule of thirds, and we'll cover this again, we'll do some photography stuff, but basically the rule of thirds is you want to kind of have things in your photos that are within these third panel. Let me put another one here. This is rough. This is not perfect with the rule of thirds. But the goal is that if you have the rule of thirds in your composition, it's more visually interesting if things are kind of off center, things are within the intersections. Okay, so I may be, putting text up here. I can see if I do that, I'm off center. Putting the picture down here or up here kind of makes a very nice composition. So it's kind of looking at that rule of thirds. And if you open up your camera, especially on the iPhones, you can turn these grids on, which will do that to help you compose it. So I'm not quite perfect, but you can see most of this composition is now over here, the focal point. We're on this panel. We're not dead center. So anytime you can kind of shift things off a little bit, up and down or right to left, that tends to create a little bit more visual excitement, a little bit more visual energy when you're composing, when you're designing. And you'll see, well, this rule of thirds kind of idea will come into play not only here, but when we get to Illustrator, when we get to InDesign. It's just kind of something to think about. And again, also with your photography as you're kind of composing your pictures. All right, so we're there. Again, I'm gonna see, and I'm gonna try that sky replacement on this. I'm gonna see how well it does. This trees in here, this is very complicated, right? I mean, this is like major complicated. And if I had to clip out the trees, meaning like to kind of mask that out and make the sky, it would be very hard. So I'm gonna let the computer do a little work here. And let's see what it does here. We're going to edit and sky replacement. I'm just gonna let it think real quick and see how well it works. It's thinking because this is complicated. Wow, look at that. This is nuts. Photoshop is that good that it put the clouds behind the pine. Oh, guys, this stuff is, you have no idea how easy life is now with this. It's pretty amazing. So let me see, I'm gonna put in my own skies because I know, again, I'm just trying to get to the habit of working things up a little different. Obviously using the technology, but trying to be a little bit different with it. So it doesn't look like you did this sky replacement. Does that make sense? Because if you don't do that, everybody's gonna have the same darn sunset and everybody's gonna go, oh, that was Photoshop, dude. I can tell, I know that I have that same sky. So we're trying to kind of do what we can to change it up a little bit. And I had those, where were they? Is it photos? For that folder. Give me 1 second here. Photo bundle. Yeah, nope, is that right? So let me see. So these are, again, these were all these kind of presets. These are things, and these are for Lightroom, and also for Photoshop. And Lightroom is very much like Photoshop in the way that it can manipulate and kind of adjust pictures. And a lot of people do Lightroom. What's kind of nice about Lightroom is there's a lot of, we'll call them templates, meaning you can kind of preset things. Kind of like, you know, if you have Instagram, you can put the modes. I wanted in the whatever. You can click those different styles and looks. Well, in Lightroom, it lets you do that really easy. So it's kind of nice in that sense. So let me just kind of go down here. Found that file. We were looking at these last class. Something dramatic, but not so fakery. And because I know this area, I also know that the way the sun comes up, it would never be like right by half dome from this angle. And if it did, you wouldn't get that shadow of the setting sun. Does that make sense? So you have to kind of look at your sky and see if it's going to work appropriately to that. So again, so like here, this is a setting sun, and I know the sun doesn't set behind it. It does rise behind it, but if it rose behind it and it was this far down, I wouldn't get those panels of like kind of orange on the front. So I'm just kind of looking for something where I have some sky, some cool tones, but also would not necessarily be right there. So if you ever take a, here we go. If you ever take a picture, look at the sunset, again, this is a photo tip. Yeah, go take a picture of the sunset, it's beautiful. But turn around, because oftentimes what happens is that as the sun sets, you get these incredible light behind you, where the light is hitting the clouds. It just is great. Same thing in the morning, but I never get up early in the morning. So, but in sunset does that. I'm gonna use this one, just I think it will work. I think this will complement. Did it come in? Where did we go? Let's try it again. Plus. Down below here. That's pretty intense. I'm gonna do this. It's pretty intense, but it's got the blue, which will kind of work there. There we go. So there we have the clouds. And we have that panel. Again, I'm going to make the kind of shifting. I want it to come down and fade. Put it there. Again, scale it a little bit. I've got some room. Color's a little off. I'm gonna see if I can get it a little bit yellower to kind of match the mountains there. And again, I'm bringing in some of that light to the foreground because it's already there, but I want to maybe bump it up. May as well do it while I'm here. And okay. 3G before, after, right? I mean, it's a lot better. It gives us something there. Right there was so mono. This is good for type because I get the type right on top of that. No cut because one color, but I want to make it more difficult for myself just because. I'm gonna say okay for now. Boom, let that come on in. And I could turn off my guides because they bug me. So again, look at this behind Photoshop here. I mean, this is phenomenal to be able to do this. I mean, it doesn't get any better when you can look and see that Photoshop literally just kind of blended this sunset or these sky behind the trees like this, these pine trees. I mean, the detail there is nuts that it was able to do that. So don't be afraid to let the computer do some work for you. And you can see where you can make quite a dramatic change literally with just a couple minutes of work. And then you can bring in your own sky. So again, you can take your own picture, or you can, like I did, buy some. And let me save this. I remember we got that little asterisk there. That means we haven't saved. I'm going to do a save as. And we'll just stop. I'm going to put it back in the class pics file. Okay, we're just going to go back. And I want to just kind of keep it as a Photoshop file for now, PSD, and we're going to call it good. All right, so we've got that. Things that we're going to, add to this. We're going to add a list of songs. We're going to add in UPC and some trademark or copyright information, and then also potentially the artist or information about the band if we want to do that there. Sometimes you'll find it written on the inside, like if you buy a CD, it's written in the inside. I like the fact that it's on the album someplace, especially with the technology and how it's all being changed. At least if they get the back, it'll have that. And again, I think that you think about the back, because if we do the back, typically they're going to either a CD or a 12-inch vinyl as a new place that you can kind of work and experiment and be creative. Just to have this black with a list of songs, pretty boring. Okay, so you may as well be as creative as the artist would be and think about what can I do on the back that works and complements the front, but also is a little bit different. Again, creates some visual interest for the consumer and the viewer as they get this product. All right, so we have that. I'm going to put in the text. I'm just going to start some text stuff up top here. And what I'm just going to do is like the tracks, right? There's number 1, number 2. So I know the type is way off, but all right, we just made a couple album names. So I've typed them all in. You're going to go, what's going on here? Well, I'm going to have to come in and do some type things. So right now I pull it up and it looks like it's all right justified. So I'm going to make it left. So I'm going to click left and that's all there. And then we come over to character and we can see we're at 72 point. That's pretty big, right? I mean, it's hard for you to understand what 72 point is until you start to work and print things out. I can tell you 72 is pretty big. So I'm going to scale that down. And the scale, I don't quite know what I want right now, but I'm just going to kind of, if I put my cursor over, in this case, the T's or the A's, this is the leading, and then I can just kind of click and move, and it's going to make things go up and down. All right, so this is putting my leading in, and I have an extra space in there, it looks like. So, because I don't really know what it is, right? And I could do a drop down here and put it to 30, 48 and go, well, that's a little too close. They're touching. Maybe I want to put it up to 60, which is what the computer does. And maybe that's too much or too little. So again, I can just kind of visually move that back and forth to get what I want. Because again, a lot of this is visual. Now you do want to adjust the size first before you get to the leading, because the leading is based upon the type size. So let me first get in here, get rid of that extra space. And I'm going to scale this first. I did that just so I could see my type without the others being on top. And I'm going to start scaling that down to what I think would be something nice visually. Just kind of working it. And that's nice. So now with the leading, there is an auto setting that does that, and that does pretty good. The auto basically is when you think of leading, the way I can tell you leading for this at least should be at least 33 because I'm at 33 points, or you know, a little more. You could go a little less, but go 30, and you can see they're not quite touching. But if you look in here, you see this Y and this the top of the eye, they're touching almost, and that's because it's at 33. If I put it on auto, basically it's moving it to a little bit more, and that may be good, it may not be. So I can kind of even just adjust back and forth here. Like 35 works pretty good. I'm not touching with the Y and the I, you know, and I've got a little bit of a gap there, so visually it will still work. Okay, so this is where you kind of go back and forth with kind of playing with things. I'm gonna scale it down. And because this is pretty monochromatic back here behind it, I'm not having to do really an opacity box, or I'm not even having to do any kind of drop shadows or outlines and those type of things. And I'm just gonna copy that over here, because I'm laying this all out. I'm not sure how it's gonna be. So these are good. And if this was off, with Photoshop, they have things where I'm going to hold the shift and select each layer. And then I can get these up here. Okay, and these are kind of alignment tools. So I can align these top or bottom. So I'm going to align them to the top. And now they're both the same. They're both in the same line. So even if I retype over here, they will stay in line. So I'm going to get my type tool back in T and just come back in here. And I'm just going to call this 5. Come on. I don't want to, this is the glyphs that are popping up. I'm keeping these really short because I don't want it to run off too much here. And if we need to, we will come back and make those changes. I highlighted and thinks I want to do a glyph. Come on. Come on, computer. If you have sunset, you must have a sunrise. And block it. Okay, so these are my words. And again, I'm looking at it now and I'm done. Maybe I want to move the 8, move this column over a little bit because I feel like it needs a little more space between the S and the 8 here. So I'm just going to select it. I'm just using my right and left arrows just to kind of move them over a little bit so it feels comfortable. And again, don't be afraid to kind of, I know I want those to always stay together. I can select them both and then I can link the layers. So now they're kind of linked. So if I just grab one, they kind of go in together. Okay, so I know they're lined up and I know that they're linked. So I can just kind of drag them around to see where they kind of fit and what's going to look the best. And again, I'm not giving, if I get too close to the edge, I can pull it in. All right, so I'm just going to, you know, for now, drop it here, knowing I can make this adjustment layer. All right. So that's there. And then things we're going to add like a UPC. Let me see if I think I have a UPC. Let me see before I start hunting for stuff. I'm going to open, I think I downloaded a UPC yesterday. So let me just go to my desktop. STU UPC, the barcode. Okay. Again, you're going to find that on these. I'm just going to, I just did this yesterday too. Yeah, I don't know what what happened there? All right, let me just see if I can import it. I don't know why I was looking for my camera. That's nuts. I don't want to do this, but I didn't realize I could bring in from my camera. So place. I'm going to place embed it. And let's see if I can get it to come in. There's something with the way I saved that file yesterday. Okay, so here we go with the UPC. And again, anything that's going to go into retail environments is going to have a UPC. And what the UPC is obviously this, you see them as numbers, but the computers see these bars as numbers. Okay, so when they're scanning, they're not scanning the numbers themselves, they're scanning the bars. So if you're at the Vons and you go to buy, I don't know, a bag of potato chips, and you know, the person scans it, or you scan it now, because everybody's got these self-checkouts. That laser is reading the bars, which signifies a certain number. And what happens is the store, they will type in that number, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and say that that is, you know, Lay's potato chips and it's $2.95. Okay, so whenever somebody scans it, the computer sees, okay, that's the Lay's potato chips and it costs $2.95, and that's how it adds up. So if something scanned wrong, it just means that they didn't put the number in or the price in right, typically. You'll oftentimes see this when they have something on sale. Someone didn't go in there and change the computer, the code. So number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it is not $1.99. It's still saying $2.99. They have to change it manually to $1.99 for the sale. Okay, so it still does happen where they have an error. They obviously gotten a lot better at it. I don't really see too many errors on my receipts anymore. I'm just gonna put that in there. Typically, you know, the bottom somewhere. And I'm just gonna put it over here on this side. And if I need to make it a little bit bigger, fine. Now, again, this is just for a mock-up. And I would do this in real life if I was doing this album for Ed. That would be awesome. I wouldn't have the real UPC typically yet. You'll get that later, or it will actually be put in as they're going to print. So I like to put, I'll put in a mock-up, because if you don't put one in, one, there you're not leaving the space, but two, it looks like it's incomplete. What I do sometimes also, just to make sure that people don't miss it, this is a great opportunity to use something like, I'm going to put a stroke on this thing. And by doing it, that's obviously too big. But if I do like this pink stroke, it's going to stand out and go, hey, we forgot to put in the real UPC. So as we put the real one in, that will be deleted. Because what I'm trying to do is I don't want it to get printed by accident, right? Because somebody, UPC's there, let's keep going. Trust me, you'd be surprised. But if it's something like real, I was like, why would that be pink or magenta or bright red or something, some kind of crazy color? And when you would see that and go, that shouldn't be right. Okay, and especially when you get the final proofs, if people are signing off saying, okay, that's perfect, go to print. So before you make a million of these things, or however you're making, hopefully someone catches it and go, oh, that UPC is not right, we have to replace it. We got to make sure we get the right one, because it's still got that color around. Otherwise, sometimes people think it's real and just overlook it, and they might sign off on it, and next thing you know, it went to print. And it does happen still, right? Still, this kind of stuff still happens, but I think you can kind of do things that make it less likely to happen. Okay, so by doing something like an outline like this, I know. I also do things sometimes where I'll just kind of flip it. Okay, so I'm going to go to layer, and I can go to transform. That'll work. At transform, and I'm going to just flip it vertically, so it's upside down. Again, we know that's going to be the UPC, so from a visual standpoint, it kind of works, and we know the positioning and we know the size. But if I'm trying to prove this and I go, hey, wait a second, the UPC is upside down, we know it's wrong, so that means we got to replace it. Okay, so whatever you can do to kind of visually show it, that's a good thing, right? Because you don't want this thing to print with a wrong number on it, but you want one here as you're mocking it up, so people will understand it as such. Now down here, I'm going to have some more text, and I guess we're going to do just a quick copyright and stuff. And we're going to just put here 20. 2021. And I'll probably spell that one to 2E's, 1E's. We'll leave it as that. Corporate, you must be a business at this point. Okay, now I want to put in a copyright symbol here. So I want to be copyright 2021. Again, this is just legal stuff. I'm going to scale this in a second, but I don't know what the keyboard shortcut is. So there's keyboard shortcuts. If you hold down like the option and on your keyboard and do like an option A, it's going to give you the certain things, or option E, option R is an accent, option 2, there's a trademark, option 1, upside down exclamation point. I forget what the keyboard shortcut is for this. So I'm going to go to my glyphs, and I'm right here, click there. So I know I'm going to place it. So this is my glyphs for this typeface. I think, let me double check here, my typeface. We're in the Sierra round. Let me get my glyphs going. No, it didn't switch. Usually it switches right over. So I got to do something here to make it switch. There we go. So turn around. And then I'm going to go through, and I've got these numbers here, and somewhere in here it's going to be a copyright. Let me go through. There's a euro, there's an English pound, There's a couple points. Here's the copyright. So if I double click on this, it's going to give me the copyright symbol. There again, there is a keyboard shortcut for all of these things, or most of these things. And I'm not sure what it is, and I forget what it is. But it's the same on all of them. So Command C, something. Well, Command. I'm sorry, Option whatever is going to give me copyright. And let me just see what is this. Option C. No. Once you find it, you can reuse it and memorize it. I just haven't done it lately. So that's a glyph. And again, it could be something else you want to put in here also. Maybe there's something else for there's the and sign. Maybe I said I want to do some other kind, but maybe I just want a small M dash. Okay, I can do that. Again, you can kind of see, again, some of them have different options in the glyphs panel. The numbers, and then we have all the letters and the accents and stuff like that. So that's there. So that's the, and I know that's too big, right? If you ever saw that on something that copyright that was that big, you'd be like, what the heck are they doing? So I'm going to, we're selected there, go to my character, and I'm going to kind of just scroll it. And I know for a fact that, you know, this is going to be like 10, 12 point. It's pretty small in the real world. And that's perfectly fine. It's just kind of legal stuff that we have to put on there to protect. Okay. So not only is the artwork protected, but also the music is protected. And if you don't put legal notices on there, it gets into problems when someone actually does commit a copyright problem. And if it was to go to court, they're going to go, well, you didn't put a copyright symbol on there. We didn't know, type of thing. We all know, but you got to do that. And just so you guys to know from a copyright standpoint, that copyright is like art, things that you can copyright: art, music, literature, poetry, books, right? All that kind of stuff. That's all copyrightable. And technically, it's copyrighted the second you make it. So right now, this is mine. I own this. I own the copyright to this. If I'm getting paid from somebody, they're going to own the copyright because they're basically paying for it. But if what I just created here, at least the photograph and so forth, is mine, I have that copyright. So if someone was to steal it, I could take them to court, even without the copyright symbol. It's still yours. Okay, so you don't need to do that. And you don't need to send it to the Library of Congress. That's technically where you can get official copyrights done also. So know that everything you do is copyrighted, but you can send the copies of this. I think you can do it all digitally now to the Library of Congress. You pay a small fee, and then it's copyrighted. I don't copyright everything I do through the Library of Congress just because it's a cost issue. But I do own the copyrights for it. So even if I don't send it to the Library of Congress, I have that. So we got basically the stuff here. We also have the, like I said, we can put the band members in there. And I'm just gonna do, I'm just gonna make up names. All right, so I'm just gonna just some names, and we're gonna put the something like that. And we're gonna scale this up a little bit. I know we're looking really small for type, so let me pull that up. Okay, that's pretty good. And then I want to make the band members stand out a little bit. So that's, instead of regular, I'm going to go to a black version, which is really thick and heavy. We're looking at the leading is at 35. So it's not too bad. Let me just kind of, I'm going to let it in a little bit and let it out and just kind of see where I'm liking it. I'm liking that right about there. And again, that's showing up pretty well because we're fairly dark on the background. If I was to move it over here, it's getting a little lost, and I may want to do an opacity box for that. And I'm going to make this actually, I'm going to left justify it. So paragraphing is here. And you'll notice that especially a lot of these things I'm touching will also appear at the top, depending on what you're working with. So put that over here. And if you see like here, the pinks, this is showing you things are lining up. So the computer's trying to help you. Photoshop's trying to help you line things up. So I'm lined up here with the edge of that. And now this is not lined up. So if I move this around a little bit, it should, there we go. See that lined up. If I just kind of drop it, when a guide comes on, it's a guide the computer is doing. It's again, nothing permanent. It's just kind of there. Now I think I'm going to maybe do a small opacity box just because we haven't done any on this project. Make a new layer and put that in here. And let me scale that a little bit. Pull that in. Again, if you hold the shift key, you can move things in and out. You're not, in this case, I'm not adjusting the up and down or the top and bottom. I'm just adjusting the right and left. I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to drop the opacity down a little bit. So it's there, but it's not too much there. Again, just helping it stand out just a little bit. And then what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and do it. I want to make a unified thing that kind of blends it all together to make it all kind of feel good. And I want to add a texture. So I'm just going to, I'm going to leave it here. I'm going to go find the texture. I don't need the barcode. Don't save. And up here, I'm going to save this up. So I just want to do one kind of unifying thing with, I'm going to look at, see what kind of textures I can find. What do I have in here? Just do design cuts. Again, these are some things like textures and brushes you can put on to your stuff. You can see those, you can put those over top. Let me see what I have on the color ones. These are kind of cool. Open this. This looks crazy. I'm going to copy this because what I'm doing is, I don't know where I got paint. I got all kinds of stuff going on. I'm going to, I want to put it up below the text and above the sky. So I'm just going to select the sky layer. I'm going to put Command B. It should paste it above. Not. Come on. Command A. Command C. Command B. It's okay. And we'll pull that down. And even stuff like this, right? These are cool. I mean, you can buy it. Like, you know, I own this now. I can do whatever I want with it because it is a where I got it from with that design cut. So I'm just going to kind of go through the blend modes to see what I'm getting, right? I mean, this is like crazy cool stuff here. That's kind of nice. That's too much. That's too much. Yeah, I'm not liking that. It's too much. That's too gray. These are good up here. There's a color blend. I like this. This. I'm just looking. Maybe darker. Okay, so that's the blend mode there. And again, it's kind of just kind of evens things out, kind of adds some really awesome texture. You can still see it. I might even drop the opacity down a little bit, just so the picture. I want to see half dome a little more. I'm going to put it like 60%. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. I think I want to change this opacity back instead of green. I'm going to make it another color. So I'm just going to find maybe a little bit more of the orangey red. And then what I'm going to do is just going to use the paint bucket over here. We have the gradient tool we talked about in the paint bucket. And I'm going to click. You have to leave her. That's fine. Good luck. Hope you pass the test at the eye doctors. But that's fine. The video will be up soon. We'll get that up. We're making that orange. It unifies it a little bit, but it feels to me at this point a little bit bright. So I'm going to drop the opacity down even more for that. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with this right now. So I'm going to save again as always. And then I want to bring this into my template. So what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to save a copy, or I could export, but I'm going to just do a save a copy. It's easier as a JPEG. So I can bring it into that template. So we have the ed copy. We're in the class pics. We're good, right? Where I'm going to put it. I'm going to put it at max of 12, max quality. Click OK. Out. So I'm going to open it. Now I'm going to open that back up because I want to bring it into my template just so I have it. So ed. There we go. Ed back up. Looks pretty good, doesn't it? We got the front. That's how the front was. There's the back. I like the back. It's kind of fun. So I don't even need the Photoshop file, the PSD file, all the layers. I'm going to close that. I have here, I'm going to copy the back, the JPEG. We're going to go to our album here. And what we're just going to mock up the back. So what's the back? Well, it's just replacing it again. So I'm going to paste it in. I know it's too large, Command T, and I've got the transform in it. I'm just kind of scaling it down. Good there. And we'll hit return, turn off those other items. And now we've got that. And again, all you gotta do is hit save and it will now put it back over here on our cover, right? So this is, just like that. And again, you can do the same thing with the vinyl, okay? And again, just double click here. And I'm gonna just change the color. Oops. We'll keep it orange. It's going to fill that layer with orange. And then we've got the type. We get the shape that's on. And then this, if you see an exclamation point like this or a warning sign, what that's telling me is I don't have that typeface. Missing font, okay, so I need to substitute. So it's doing something in there. I'm just going to replace it with whatever, and I'm just going to type it in. This is not obviously the best typeface, but we're good. And let me just double check and see if we're on there. Yeah, we're on there. That's the shadow of where it's going to be. Yeah, it's not perfect, but we're good for what we're doing. Save, close it, and now you see it's back over here on our mockup. Okay, and again, you can change the mockup on the back by picking a color. Again, I can select the color off of the album itself. Just kind of blend it. That's kind of nice. Boom. And there we go. We've got that pretty much done. We'll then save it as a PDF. But in this point, you want to probably save it as a PSD. So then you can come back and make changes as you need to. Maybe you want to change the background. So I'm going to call this mockup 2B. And it's went from the downloads. I'll just put it in the downloads. I don't care. I don't need to save it for later. And now we've got this, and we'll save it as a PDF, turn it in, and you guys are good to go. Questions on that? God, you guys are so darn quiet.
Yeah, I'm still a little confused on how to actually apply the album cover to the template.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so yeah, that's a little confusing for me.
Okay. Let me get that. Good. No, I'm glad you're confused because I want to go through this. So when you open up that template, you're gonna get, it's gonna look like, well, it's gonna look like the other. Let me open up here, see if I have the original stuff. Open desktop. Here, this is the original. So when you download the file, it's gonna look like this. So what we gotta do is replace the cover here, and ultimately we'll do the label. I'm just gonna do the cover. So we have, when you open up your layers, you'll see cover, vinyl, and then these are basically the backgrounds. Okay, so that's what these are, big color and place image here. So on cover, I open up this folder and it actually tells me, open this so you can see your design here. Double click the layer thumbnail. Okay, so it's kind of telling you, here's what to do. These are cover shadows and stuff that they built into it, so it looks real. It's basically this shadow down here at the bottom and back here. But turn those off, you'll see those go off. Here's that shadow. Okay, so these you just leave alone. Don't worry about it. So I'm doing a double click on this. It opens up a new folder, a new file. So this is where we were, and then it opened up over here a new one. Let me just go back. So this PSB is basically a part of the other file, but it's kind of part of the template. So what it's saying is, this is where we replace. So vinyl record mockup and the shape go into here. So anything you put on this will go on to the actual album itself. Okay, so even if I just did something like any kind of picture or just even a color, I can make a new layer here. It's just a Photoshop file. If I fill that layer with a color, just orange, let me just do pink bucket, it's going to be orange. So if I bring this back into Photoshop, I've got that. And the reason we build it separate is because it's easier. Otherwise, you're building all this stuff here and it just gets more confusing. It's easier just to bring in your JPEG. So what I did was I made the album over here and I saved it as a JPEG. So it's a flattened file. There are no layers. And then I'm copying that over. So it's, I'm selecting it and I'm copying. And when I come back here to this PSB file, let me just turn this off because that's not there. I can just paste it, Command D or paste, and I've got that here. So this is the file. It's just really big. So I want to make it smaller. I'm just going to Command T. I'm going to transform it down so it will fit into the window or the file that they have pre-built into this template mockup. I'm just going to scale that. Too big. Make sure we're there. And we're good to go with that. Okay, so that's what we do. We just turn off those other items. They're still there. We don't need it. The back doesn't matter because it's below. You can even put this at the top. Really doesn't matter. Anything below will not show up. And when I hit save, it's going to take this PSB, this template file that we're working on, and take it back to the mockup. Okay, so when I hit save and I close it, it now comes back over here to the mockup in place. Okay, and if I want to change it again, I have to go back to that other mockup. And the reason we're doing this is because it's just really easy to kind of drop it in, and it's also adding those colors and stuff. Okay, so and mockup files, we use these all the time. So does that make sense with the mockup? I'll show you another one now.
Yeah, that makes a bit more sense.
Let me find one. I'm going to open up one. I know I have a bunch in here. Desktop. Let's see. Let me just find. So these are actually, believe it or not, these are photo. This is like crumpled paper. right? So let's say you're making a poster, and again, you're doing it and you want to make it look, I don't know, just to give it some visual interest, do something some fun. These are kind of things that are already done. So let me, here's things like there's tape that you can use, holographic, textures you can put on top. So let me do, don't crash on me. Letters. Okay, so if you're doing like letterhead or you, again, just kind of being artistic. Let me do this. I think this will work. This is crazy, right? Because there's all kinds of stuff going on here. So that goes open. I want to see. Being discontinued may not work. All right, we'll try and see. We'll see if it works. It might not work. It may work because this stuff is old. Let's see. No, it's not going to work. It's getting weird. Let me close that out. Let me open something else that might work. I hope this works. Okay, that's cool. So here we have that crumpled paper mock-up. And it already tells you everything's kind of here. There's the things you can change, the paper. And it says change this, right? It's just saying this is where you got to do it. So I'm going to click on that. And now I'm into another PSB file. I'm going to actually put my ed thing in here, copy. I'm going to bring it back here. I'm going to paste it. So you see it got moved in there and it's got these kind of textures on it. I'm going to, oops. I'm on the wrong layer. I'm going to just scale it up to fit. And it's going to be, it's not the right proportion, but you get the feel for it. I'm just going to slide this over. Does that work? Move it up. I'm just kind of putting it in. Let me scale down a little bit. Right there. So we're going to say that's cool. Hit return. It's there. I'm going to save this little file I worked on, close it, and then when I come back to here, where's my markup? Hold on. So I got too many things open here. Let's see. Where'd it go? Is that not it? Hold on. I'm going to do that all again. I've got too many windows open here, and I've got things confused. Open. So we were. Okay. Here, double click here. Got the layer. We're still there, moving that in place. On it good. I'm going to save it. And now I put it back into here. And you can see the paper now has all this texture in it. Okay, because this mockup had built this stuff into it. That's what we got. And again, this is the background. I can kind of get rid of that if I want to. So I can resize them. But it's kind of like if it was a poster on the wall, right? And I could import now bricks to kind of make it look like this is a poster on the wall. Let me just see if I have a brick thing real quick. Open. So mockups are really cool. And this is a little bit extreme, but we do it all the time for, here's a compact disc, just like we're doing with the record. Floppy disk, like they exist anymore. A soda can. I don't know if this one's going to work because it's that 3D stuff. It's kind of getting weird. A car, SD card, VHS tape. Now you're going to be like dating your stuff, but it's kind of cool. These are like pockets that like views on stuff, stickers. Bunch of stickers again. You can drop in your stuff to these. to make it look real. And that's the whole point, is to kind of make things legitimate. So as you start to show it to your client, you're good. But I don't know. I think you can add type to this. There was a phase where a banana on taped to a piece of artwork. It was some big thing down in Miami. Go figure. So you can buy Mockup. Was it Florida? Yeah, it's Florida. You know. Let me just see if I have. Texture. So again, you know, like, what do I need? Well, you just don't know what you're going to need, and oftentimes you'll buy one for a project that comes with a bunch of other ones. Let me just see if I have anything that shows up. Brick. No, that's not the kind of book I want. So these are templates too. Basically, you can drop in your logos and you can have these kind of really cool graphical elements in there. And many times you can change the things on there. So like here, you would drop in your logo onto these units and you can put your logo in, kind of a mock-up for a company. Here's a brick wall texture. So I knew I had brick somewhere. Pick a brick. Go with the old gray brick. Oh, there's something weird about these files. It's not letting me select it. Where is it going? They changed something in Photoshop, and these files are getting weird. Let me copy. No, opacity is there. Give me one second. I'm just trying to see. There's something, like I said, something weird going on. And I know I was blaming it on my daughter the other day, but I don't think it's her. Just look to see. Why is that not doing it? Not good. It's not letting me select. That's kind of weird. I just, no, don't want that.
I think I ran into this issue with something else before, and I looked it up, and they said something about disabling like editing in mask mode or something like that.
Okay.
I kind of forgot.
I'm gonna have to look and see. But ultimately, what you would do is I would select. I don't know why. You would select the brick, and then you bring it back over here, and you could put the brick in behind what looks like the poster, and now you've got this. Looks like your poster is on a brick wall. Again, it's all through Photoshop. So again, it's kind of like this little bit of texture where the paper has been folded. It's not a lot, but it's enough to visually make things a little bit different. And then you just kind of save it and you kind of keep going. So these mock-ups aren't just for like this record album. You can do them for, because I use them all the time for business cards and those kind of things as I'm working up for clients. It lets them see it. Because again, most of your clients aren't visually oriented, meaning, you know, I think visually, but they don't. That's why they're the accountant. I don't think like an accountant, or they're an engineer. I don't think like an engineer. So, or they're a chef. They think differently, and they're not used to the way that they want to see it in a way that makes sense to them. That makes sense. So if I was working up something like a poster for a band, and I would do it and I would show it to them like this, because this makes a lot more sense to them. They can kind of see it. Okay, it's a little, it just visually makes sense to them when they look at things that way. So mock-ups are really, really cool. And again, you can get a lot of them through the design cuts is what I like, because you get a lot for a good, really, really good price. And then you can visually use them for anything you want. There's no restrictions on it. And it just really helps the clients to see it, whether it be kind of mocked up on a t-shirt, or in this case, the record album, or a poster, they get it. So I've, over the years, accumulated quite a bit of mock-ups. Biggest problem is trying to find them sometimes. It's like, I know I got it there somewhere. Where is it? All right. Questions. Let me just double check our attendance as we're going. A second late. Questions. Nothing. Questions? Nothing? Not at all? Oh my God. Another egg.
How do you put in the lettering and the barcode again?
Just kind of, the lettering just kind of dropped it in. So on a file, you would just, let me just get a file open here. So we'll just say this is the file. Hopefully it works here. You just kind of touch the T and then you start to type. And then of course you're going to go back through and make changes. You can scale it. I'm going to scale it up a little bit.
So I have a question about that.
Yes.
I had to step away while you had first initiated that earlier. So you touch the T and then you start to type. So it's not like it creates a text box.
No, there's no text box.
Okay, all right, thank you.
No. And in fact, there's some like text box you would do in Illustrator, but I tend not to do that too much. We definitely get into text box in InDesign. We're going to say text will go into this space, but in Photoshop, no, you're just kind of typing, and you'll have to scale or make it things bigger or smaller as you want to. So it's just kind of hitting the T and typing. And if you want to return, you can obviously, click on there, get return, and you got to return, and then you just have to look at your paragraphing, right, left, center. And in this case, we've got the leading is very tight. So I'm going to go back to character. And again, I could put it on auto, which usually works. I got to highlight it, sorry. Put this on auto. Could have done that in the beginning. But if it's too much, it's too much leading, I can come in and manually adjust it. Computer's being slow, but I can adjust it up or down as needed. And then for the UPC, I just literally opened it. It's just kind of easier sometimes. So desktop, you had that UPC back here. And this is the same with any picture. So I just opened it. And you can actually, let me just move this away. I just grabbed the tab and moved it. I can literally just kind of drag it and it should go back. There we go. I just dragged it and dropped it in. So you could do it that way. You could over here, where'd it go now? My tab. There's back here. I usually keep my tabs in there. I don't kind of get too much. Command off, we're selecting, right? Select, and then we're going to copy. And then we're going to come back over here and just do a paste. And it just drops it in. And then you can position and scale as needed to where you want it to be. Okay, does that make sense? And again, what I did here, this is a UPC, but it's really just a picture. It's just a JPEG. So you could just as easily do that with any photograph that you open, just kind of dropping that in. Okay, and you can open things like PDFs in Illustrator. You get a kind of a text box first saying, what do you want to do? How do you want to make it? And it usually does pretty good. It's thinking, here it is, Command Alt, Command C. Again, I'm just copying, it's just another picture. And then I'm just going to Command D, I'm just going to paste it in. You can see it's very big. So I'm just hitting the Command T for transform, and I'm just going to transform this map down. Onto this brick wall. Return, it's going to come down. I'm going to get this out of the way. And now we have that on the wall. Again, it's not perfect, but this is where you can come back in and put the shadows in and do stuff like that. But this is where if you have those templates, it already does it for you. It saves you a bazillion hours of time if you're doing it. You know, because there is going to be some kind of a shadow. I'm just going to call it like it is. I'm not going to look at it. Too big here. Scale that down. Okay, so there's a little bit of a shadow over here. You can also play with opacity, the blend mode, to kind of make it feel like it's built in a little bit. So you can just see which ones might work. And sometimes you'll play with a separate layer to kind of bring in some of that texture. So let me do this. I'm going to copy the layer first. And then I'm going to make this, I'm going to play with the opacity layer here. Let me do it for the other one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to blend these two together to give it the look and feel of the brick. Because if it's taped to the brick or kind of we pasted or something onto the brick, it's going to come through some of that. So I'm going to put this on top, and then I'm going to just kind of maybe play with the opacity a little bit, just a tiny bit. Because I just want some of that brick to kind of pop through. Okay, so you can kind of see there's a little bit of brick coming on, not too much. And this drop shadow, that doesn't work. I'm just taking that off for now. So there's a little bit of, you can see it. You can start to see the texture coming through, and that's kind of what I want with that. So I just kind of did the opacity here, but I might even also play with the blend mode and just kind of see if something kind of works with that. That's not bad. The screen's kind of working. So what I did was I just copied my layer below, did my changes, and then I'm blending these together to kind of give us the brick feel on it. Too much, too much, too much. We'll leave it there for now. Okay, so we're starting to get the feel. You can start to see there's brick behind it. And again, if this was pasted onto the brick, you're going to start to get that texture of the brick coming through a little bit. I'm just kind of blending it in that way. And again, I would sit there and I can definitely work it to be right, but I also might work with one of the mock-ups and get that right, and then I can paste that and bring that in. That's going to give me even more opportunities. So it's a process. It's not just one thing and you're done. It takes a bit of process to work these things through. Okay, that's fine. All right, other questions?
The text, when I bring it in on the way that you said, it makes it like super small.
Yeah, just have to make it. You guys just have to make it bigger.
Yeah, no, I tried that. I even have the size of the text at like 72, and it's still like micro.
Well, it may be because the file is so big, it does that. So make your font size like 500 and see if it makes a difference.
Okay.
Just kind of type in 500 for the set of 72. Highlight it, type in 500 and see if that makes it. It should.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay. Other questions, issues? All right. So we've got the parameters now for the first project, the album. Start concepting, start interviewing the family member for the second album, start gathering images. Feel free to take your own photos. Excuse me. Feel free to draw if you have. If you're artistic that way, you can bring those things in, photograph them, scan them. feel free to make your own textures, take a picture of the carpet or, you know, a brick wall or any of those kind of things. Those are all good. I want you guys to be creative here. That's why I'm giving you 3 weeks. It's to be creative, not just do what I'm doing here in a quick demo. It's kind of goofing off. I mean, I want you to really take the time and be precise and work it up. Okay, and there is going to be an experimentation where like, ah, that didn't work. Let me try something else. That's a good thing. I want you guys to quote fail as you're working, so you'll learn from it and do something new, or say, oh, that didn't work, but let me try something else. And that's what Photoshop is. I mean, it's not just right away you got it. And even myself, who's been doing this program for what seems like forever at this point, I have to get in there and start to work and experiment to get the look and feel I want. And, you know, hopefully I'm going to come up with something that totally works for what I need. All right, so take the time. Don't just like, this is not a rush. I'm giving you guys time, precious time, to be creative and to do it well. Okay. Questions, issues, anything?
Not at the moment.
All right, then. You guys have a great weekend. It's supposed to cool down a little bit. Enjoy the fresh autumn air that we're going to be getting soon. And we'll see each other on Tuesday. Okay. All right. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you.
See you guys next time.
Thanks. Have a great week, everyone.
Excuse me, may I have a word with you?
Yes.
All right, so I know for a fact that you gotta give us a lot of spare time for this whole project thing, which I'm kind of glad about. But it's just that, I mean, I'm not gonna rush it, but I'm not asking for an extension, but there are gonna be times where, I don't know, maybe I'll come up with something else. Like, for example, like maybe definitely on Saturday, I'm gonna help like, I'm gonna help my brother-in-law in like moving out some stuff from the storage into their new house because he actually bought a new house. So I'm gonna do that on Saturday. So
that's fine. No, like I said, we've got plenty of time for this project. I know life is busy. I know you guys have other classes. So I'm not trying to dominate and go, okay, now let's do this is due on Tuesday. No, I want you to have time, and I know there's life and there's issues. So, you know, if you have time, work on it. If you don't, take care of your stuff, take care of the family, you know, and then get to it later. Okay, we've got time.
all right, I see what I can do. Thank you, Daniel.
Yes.
Have a good weekend.
You too.
Bye.